It was merely a night like any other. Or so I believed. The house lay in stillness, shadows dancing in the dim light. And at last, I released a breath, the weight of a long, emotional day lifting from my shoulders. To my surprise, he settled beside me on the couch. And even more unexpectedly, his hand sought out mine. Initially, it seemed pure, almost soothing in its embrace. Yet, there was an undeniable change in the atmosphere as his gaze met mine. What we shared had transcended mere grief. It was an experience that delved into the depths of complexity, shrouded in confusion, and laced with a chilling sense of intimacy. In that instant, it dawned on me that I was ill-equipped for the line he was about to breach. In the wake of my husband's passing, the house transformed into a museum, each corner steeped in silence, every photograph murmuring memories that had become too painful to endure. I had come to navigate life in disjointed pieces. My days unfolded in a series of rituals that imbued my life with meaning: the aroma of coffee at 7, the rhythmic hum of laundry by 10, and the embrace of silence by 3. My son, David, made an effort to visit frequently, and his presence invariably lightened the burden, if only a little. Yet, grief follows its own schedule, refusing to seek approval before it chooses to remain. On that particular evening, David arrived with his closest companion, Robert, a boy who had nearly become a part of our family over the years. In his teenage years, he carried an air of quietude, a respectful demeanor that lent him an aura of maturity beyond his age. It had been quite some time since I last laid eyes on him. Yet, as I swung the door open and beheld him standing next to my son, an unexpected tug at my heartstrings accompanied his presence. He had transformed from the lanky, timid boy I once knew. He had matured into his features, with broad shoulders, dark stubble tracing his jawline, and eyes that appeared to seek something unexpressed. They entered with laughter, attempting to infuse brightness into a home that had long since lost the ability to embrace it. I embraced the role of the gracious hostess, pouring wine and arranging snacks as if it truly mattered. There was a comforting warmth in being needed once more, even in the simplest of gestures. Upon receiving an unexpected call from work, David hurriedly inquired if I could take Robert home afterward. I agreed without a moment's pause. We lingered in the living room after David's departure, enveloped by the gentle glow of dim lighting and the soothing strains of soft jazz wafting from the speakers. Robert extended his hand to assist with the cleanup, yet I gently dismissed his offer. I had become accustomed to managing everything by myself. Yet, he remained by the kitchen doorway, his eyes scrutinizing me with an intensity that felt unfamiliar. I attempted to dismiss the sensation that caused my skin to tingle. "You appear weary," he remarked, his tone soft yet resolute. "Have you found rest in slumber?" I offered him the same smile that had become my signature lately. The individual who feigned that all was well. "Slumber ebbs and flows," I responded. "Grief unfolds in ways that defy expectation." He inclined his head, advancing with a calm assurance that consistently distinguished him from the rest. "You need not navigate this journey in solitude. You realize." His voice carried a sincerity that enveloped me like a gentle breeze, reaching into the hidden corners of my heart. In truth, I found myself enveloped in a loneliness that I had never dared to voice. Not merely for companionship, but for connection. For someone to gaze upon me and genuinely perceive the woman hidden beneath the mourning veil. "I understand," I murmured softly, yet, at times, it seems simpler to embrace a state of numbness. He remained silent, offering no verbal reply. He settled beside me, our arms grazing each other in a fleeting moment of connection. His silence enveloped us, creating a bond deeper than words ever could. I realized just how much time had passed since someone had shared this space with me. I felt acutely conscious of my age, the creases that time had bestowed upon me, the sorrow that lingered in my stance. In that fleeting moment, a sense of beauty enveloped me, as if I were truly seen. We began reminiscing about memories, my husband and I reflecting on their teenage years, the way the house once brimmed with noise and chaos. A story Robert shared about a high school prank made me laugh, and the sound of my laughter caught me off guard. It felt like an eternity since the sound of my own laughter had graced my ears. As the night deepened into stillness, the atmosphere surrounding us thickened with unspoken words. He regarded me as if I were not a mother at all. I was no longer the woman who had once prepared his school lunches. In his eyes, a shift had occurred, an unvoiced message resonating deeply within me. The clock caught my eye. The hour was late. I ought to have risen and taken hold of my keys. Space should have been created by me. Rather, I chose to remain. I never told you, he said after a long pause. But I always admired your strength. Powerful? I inquired, a chuckle nearly escaping me once more. I feel quite the opposite. Not at this moment, no. Forever. Even in my youth, I perceived it. You kept your family united, even as chaos threatened to unravel everything. His words struck a chord within me, resonating more profoundly than I had anticipated. Perhaps it was the wine. Perhaps it was the time of day. Perhaps it was simply that I had not encountered such kindness directed towards me in quite some time. I gazed at him then. Truly gazed. In that fleeting instant, the years that separated us faded from my mind. I have lost track of the history, the rules, the titles. I encountered a man who showed genuine concern, who recognized me not merely as David's mother, but as a woman with a heart that continues to pulse beneath the weight of my grief. In that moment, he extended his hand and grasped mine. It lacked aggression. It lacked any semblance of audacity. Yet, it was deliberate. His fingers glided over mine with a deliberate slowness, a gentle caress as if he anticipated my retreat. Yet, I refrained. I was unable to. In that singular touch, warmth enveloped me. I experienced a profound sense of recognition. A surge of vitality coursed through me. In that moment, a torrent of questions surged within me. What could this possibly be? What was its significance? Might I permit it to take on any form? Could this be comfort, or is it something altogether different? A myriad of answers unfurled and faded within me, all in the span of a single breath. As I gazed into his eyes, a wave of uncertainty washed over me, and for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, I found myself whispering, I do not know what to do. We will continue this emotional story. But before we go on, if you feel this story touches your heart, don't forget to like and follow Man's Story so you don't miss the next moments of the story and many other great stories. Thank you for joining us. His voice was soft, measured. There is no need for you to make any decisions this evening. And yet, an unspoken understanding lingered between us. A recognition that something had irrevocably changed. A truth that would remain unaltered by the dawn's embrace. I remained seated, his hand enveloping mine, my heart racing with such intensity that I questioned whether he could perceive its rhythm. Robert's touch was gentle, unwavering, as though he comprehended the tempest raging within me and was prepared to bide his time until I was ready to embrace it. A myriad of reasons to retreat surged through my thoughts, my age, my history, my son, but none seemed potent enough to shatter the enchantment that was entwining us. He took his time with me. He lingered nearby, his thumb gently mapping slow, unseen circles upon my skin. The sheer closeness of it almost overwhelmed me. In that moment, I became acutely aware of the years I had spent in the shadows, merely existing rather than truly embracing life. Now, as I sit beside this man who once wandered through my kitchen in search of snacks as a child, I sense a stirring within me that I believed had perished along with my husband. I long for the warmth of connection, I confessed, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. It was a revelation I had not yet summoned the courage to acknowledge within myself. Robert's grip on my hand was soft yet firm, a silent vow that he understood all the unspoken words lingering between us. "You deserve that intimacy," he whispered softly. "You are worthy of all that you have hesitated to desire." Hot tears threatened to spill from my eyes, yet I fought to hold them at bay. I had wept sufficiently over what was lost. This evening seemed to belong to an entirely different realm, one that was both exhilarating and hauntingly exquisite. He moved just a fraction, his knee grazing mine, and in that instant, the narrow gap between us crackled with electricity. Every part of me was acutely aware of his proximity, of the warmth emanating from him, of the way our breaths intertwined as if we were already engaged in a connection that transcended mere words. He edged nearer, lingering for a moment, allowing me the chance to retreat if I so desired. I did not. I raised my gaze, locking onto his eyes, those profound, probing eyes that demanded nothing yet promised the world. He leaned in gradually, allowing me ample opportunity to decline, yet I felt myself moving forward to meet him in the middle. The kiss, when it finally arrived, carried no sense of urgency. It was hesitant, imbued with a sense of awe that caused a pang in my heart. His lips grazed mine gently, as if seeking consent, and I responded by leaning closer, intensifying the kiss with a longing I had long since forgotten. I savored the warmth, the patience, and an essence that teetered on the edge of hope. As we finally separated, I lingered near, our foreheads touching softly as we took a moment to regain our breath. His hand cradled my cheek, his thumb gliding along the contour of my jawline with a softness that sent a shiver through me. "I have thought about you more times than I should admit," he said, his voice thick with emotion. A soft laugh escaped my lips, a tremulous sound tinged with disbelief. "You are far too young to be contemplating women such as myself." He withdrew slightly, allowing his gaze to meet mine completely. "Age holds no fear for me. Your beauty surpasses all that it has ever been." For far too long, I had concealed myself in the shadows of grief and obligation, losing sight of the warmth that comes from being admired, not for my resilience, nor for my sense of duty, but for the essence of the woman I remained beneath it all. In Robert's gaze, I discerned none of the pity that had become familiar to me. Merely longing, nothing but respect. The logical part of my being cried out for separation, for mastery, yet another facet, hidden beneath layers and yearning, longed for this bond more fiercely than it dreaded the repercussions. "Perhaps we ought to take our time," I murmured, yet even as the words escaped my lips, my body betrayed me, inching closer once more. Robert smiled, a subtle, understanding smile that dissolved any remaining barriers I held. He assured her, "We can take it at whatever pace you require. I wish for you to feel accompanied this evening." Those words shattered something deep within me. For an eternity, I had stood resilient, fiercely committed to bearing the burden by myself. Yet, the mere suggestion of companionship in solitude struck me as a lifeline. I acquiesced, and he enveloped me softly in his embrace. We lingered in that moment, his hands gliding in gentle, rhythmic motions across my back, while my head nestled against his chest, attuned to the calm, unwavering pulse of his heart. In that moment, a profound sense of safety enveloped me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. As he drew away, his gaze locked onto mine once more, silently inquiring if this was, indeed, the choice I wished to make. Indeed, it was. It existed. He rose and extended his hand to me, and without a moment's pause, I accepted it. He guided me gently down the corridor, the home enveloped in a warm, golden radiance from the night lights I maintained out of routine. Each step felt dreamlike, as if I were stepping into a life anew, one I had never dared to envision until this very night. In my bedroom, he hesitated once more, allowing me the opportunity to reconsider. I responded to him with another kiss. This one more profound, more certain. He tightened his embrace, his hands exploring the contours of my waist, the gentle arch of my spine, as if mapping a terrain marked by sorrow yet still capable of experiencing joy. He removed my clothing with a deliberate grace that left me breathless. Each movement infused with a reverence, as though every part of me deserved adoration. I had never experienced such a profound sense of being understood, so deeply valued. As he finally removed the final layer, he stepped back, his gaze sweeping over me with a fervor that sent a rush of warmth to my cheeks. "You are stunning," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. I extended my hand toward him, yearning to connect, to bridge the gap that lay between us entirely. As his hands sought me once more, all thoughts dissolved, every fear, every regret, every hushed objection faded into silence. All that existed was the feeling, the bond that tied them together. We embraced each other with a gentle slowness, a hint of shyness lingering in the air, as we rekindled the delicate art of touch, the rhythm of breath, the warmth of skin meeting skin. He handled me with care, his attentiveness igniting every nerve ending within me. He pressed his lips to each scar, each gentle contour, as though they were sacred, and for a fleeting night, I allowed myself to feel deserving of such exquisite tenderness. As the moment faded, we found ourselves entwined in the sheets, his embrace holding me close, grounding me in a reality I had believed was beyond my reach. I sketched languid designs across his chest, experiencing a tranquility that had eluded me for years. For what felt like an eternity, silence enveloped us, leaving words unspoken between us. Words seemed superfluous. All that truly mattered had been conveyed in fleeting touches, in lingering glances, in the manner he embraced me as if I were a treasure beyond compare. As I surrendered to the embrace of slumber, a singular thought resonated within me. Perhaps healing does not always manifest in the forms we anticipate. At times, it arrived softly, with a tender touch and a spirit eager to linger. For the first time in ages, a sense of solitude lifted from my shoulders. The morning light seeped through the curtains, gentle and inviting, yet the heaviness in my chest felt far from inviting. I gazed up at the ceiling, comfortably resting against Robert's bare shoulder, and for a fleeting moment, I let myself believe that the world beyond these four walls had faded away. Yet, as it invariably does, reality resounded more forcefully with every fleeting moment. I held the title of mother, a woman who has lost her spouse, a woman approaching the age of 50. In the embrace of a man, I found solace, yet he was none other than my son's closest companion. The silence that enveloped us grew denser, neither uncomfortable nor filled with regret, but laden with the myriad questions we had both sidestepped the night prior. Robert shifted next to me. He lay there, eyes open, yet utterly still. His arms remained encircled around me, unwavering, anchoring. "You are overthinking," he murmured, sensing the tempest brewing within my mind. I glanced over at him. How could I possibly refrain? My voice faltered. In that moment, our actions felt undeniably right. It felt as though I had reached a precipice, and I hesitated, grappling with the words that eluded me, fearful that their utterance might shatter my fragile composure. "It seemed genuine," he concluded, locking eyes with me, "and it continues to do so." My heart yearned to trust his words. Oh, how I longed to grasp that sensation tightly. Yet, I had experienced enough of life to understand that reality often leaves little room for what truly resonates as real. Particularly not when it arrived shrouded in intricacies. In the bloom of youth, you stand, Robert. The entirety of your future stretches out before you, filled with endless possibilities. You are worthy of a partner who can evolve alongside you, rather than one who is burdened by a heavy history. He rose from his slumber with deliberate slowness, his fingers weaving through his tousled hair. "Please don't do that," he murmured gently, Never diminish your essence or worth due to the passage of time or the shadows of your history. I perceive your presence. You have always been within my sight. I blinked rapidly, battling the sharp sting that threatened my vision. He remained unaware of the depths of what I had concealed beneath the weight of years spent in resilience. He was unaware of the time that had passed since anyone had gazed upon me and recognized a woman. Not a widow, not a mother, not a caretaker, but simply me. Perhaps that was the very thing that filled me with the deepest fear. I wrapped the sheet more snugly around myself and stood from the bed, wandering the room as if my steps could unravel the tangled thoughts swirling within me. This moment transcends our own existence, I murmured softly. It revolves around my son, the individuals who inhabit our existence. What unfolds when they discover the truth? What transpires when his gaze meets yours? And he comprehends that you shared moments with me? Robert approached from behind, his hands softly resting on my shoulders. Then I shall position myself before him and embrace whatever may unfold. Last night was no mere error. I refused to turn my back on you simply because it might be simpler to act as if it never occurred. I pivot to confront him, my hands quivering with anticipation. But what if I lack the strength to endure that journey? What if I were to lose him, my son, because of this? The stillness that ensued was overwhelming. He took a step back, allowing me the room I needed. His expression remained serene, yet a glimmer of sorrow danced in his gaze. If that is indeed your true desire, then I shall take my leave. Yet, I shall proceed with the understanding that I have shared my truth with you. I truly meant every word I spoke last night. It shattered a part of me. His silent readiness to inflict pain. His steadfast refusal to impose. He was not attempting to claim me. He presented himself, unbidden. That kind of love, though unforeseen, held a terror far greater than any judgment cast by the outside world. The remainder of the morning unfolded in a gentle exchange of words. In quietude, we adorned ourselves, not from a place of shame, but from a deep sense of reverence. Time flowed gently, devoid of urgency or pretense. Only two souls harboring a secret too delicate to articulate. As he departed, he pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead, and I stood there, watching him fade into the distance, my heart swelling with a mix of fullness and vulnerability. Time seemed to elongate in his absence. I glided through my home, a specter of my former self, brushing against the walls, the furniture, the framed memories, seeking to bridge the gap between the woman I once was and the one I had transformed into. The scent of his cologne hung in the air, an echo of our moments woven into the very threads of my sheets and etched upon my skin. My mind wandered to thoughts of my son. In those cherished days, Robert and he would gather at the kitchen table, laughter echoing as they reminisced about their video game adventures, their sneakers still bearing the evidence of a spirited soccer practice. How did I find myself in this moment, grasping fragments of something both illicit and inescapable? And yet, I found no reason to feel remorse. On that quiet night, I found myself seated alone on the back porch, gazing up at the stars that dotted the sky. Enveloped in the soft embrace of a blanket, I sought solace against the encroaching shadows of the night. Robert's words reverberated in my thoughts. You are worthy of all that you have hesitated to desire. Was it wrong to yearn for that sense of being desired once more? Was it misguided to find solace in the embrace of one who genuinely understood me? The conflict had transcended the boundaries of right and wrong. It lay suspended in the delicate balance of trepidation and truth, in the delicate balance between concealment and existence. For the first time in ages, I found myself unwilling to conceal my true self. The following morning, I found myself lingering before the mirror more than I typically would. In my reflection, a gentle softness lingered, an unvoiced recognition of a boundary I had irrevocably crossed. And yet, I stood resolute before it. I let my fingers glide through my hair, gently smoothing my blouse, not for the sake of others, but because a spark of life had returned to me. For the first time since my husband's passing, I found myself not merely enduring, but truly experiencing emotions. As the day unfolded, a message from Robert found its way to my phone. Contemplating your presence. Take your time. Merely, I have arrived. It was straightforward, soft and soothing. It created a realm where fear and desire could intertwine and exist side by side. I gazed at the message, a smile blossoming unbidden. I replied, "You're on my mind as well." I find myself unwilling to turn my back on the potential that lies ahead. The path that lay before me was fraught with challenges. I would need to confront my son, maneuver through scrutiny, and wrestle with my own uncertainties. Yet, I had come to realize that love seldom adheres to neatness. It frequently encounters us during the most unforeseen instances, enveloped in remorse and desire, seeking merely the bravery to embrace it regardless. As I settled onto the porch once more that evening, with Robert's jacket still resting over the chair beside me, a warmth of something new began to stir within me. Not merely hope, but something bolder. I found myself transformed, a stranger to the self I had known just a day before. Perhaps that was the most exquisite aspect of it all.